Because it was like 1,000 pages for those 3 years.
Morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Personnel Administration and Higher Education Committee. It's already started. First order of business is to approve the minutes for the prior committee meeting. Sorry. Supervisor McDevitt on the first, Supervisor Thomas on the second. Any comments, revisions? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very much. Privilege of the floor, public comment. Seeing none, we'll move forward. Action agenda, SUNY Adirondack. Do we have anyone from SUNY Adirondack? We'll get through the agenda pretty quickly. Request to be discussed by Human Resources. Jackie isn't here this morning, but there is a report of the vacancies in your packet. Any comments?
Yep.
Seeing none, I guess we'll move beyond that. Referral from the Human Services Committee. Advisor Driscoll, you're here to help me out with this. But we have a couple of items on the agenda this morning. Request to amend Resolution 159 of 2023 to extend the termination date of the Assistant Social Services Attorney part-time to 100 days, which was originally 60 days. We have a motion to bring that to the floor. Supervisor Runyon, thank you. Supervisor Bridger on the second. Any comments, discussion? Supervisor Beatty.
So we're going to go from 60 days to 100 days, and the reason for this extension is why?
So basically, from my understanding, is to help the new person coming in understand all the nuances of the role.
Okay, so we're gonna have 2 people in that position for almost 4 months, 3.5 months. So I get a little worried about that, and I'll tell you why, because it sets precedence that when a person's leaving, we're going to have two positions, 2 paid positions for months at end. And what's it to stop any other department saying, hey, I got so-and-so leaving. Can I have so-and-so stay for 3 or 4 months in training? I mean, in an ideal world, if we're in the private sector, if they want to spend the money like that makes sense. In the public sector like this, I have a real concern about those additional dollars, and every other department asking the same thing.
Supervisor Driscoll, would you like to come to the podium?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I understand Supervisor Beatty's concerns. It's kind of appropriate that we have our public defender here. An attorney, when they're involved in cases, especially if they're cases involving children, youth, and families, their last day may not be their last day. They may still be involved in a court proceeding. All the paperwork and documentation needed to kind of close that case. As I understand it, one of those positions laid vacant for quite a while, and I don't have the exact amount of savings in salaries and benefits that we incurred during that period of time. But I think a lot goes on at social services, a lot of paperwork, a lot of reporting, and I think that for the person coming in who is experienced, it's going to ensure that we're successful. We don't get cited by the state or any other types of organizations for not complying with all the rules and regulations that we've got to put through. So it was a discussion that we had during committee, and I believe we unanimously supported the resolution for the request.
That was my understanding also. Any other questions, comments? Supervisor Bradley.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. I heard Supervisor Beatty, but You know, I take it to the other side and I lean toward Supervisor Driscoll and saying that this is an attorney position. And this is not something where you just hand over a book. I mean, the cases, the study, the depositions and all that that's involved. There's a lot involved here. So, we're talking 40 days, not even a month and a half. And I think this is a good move that came out of committee and I know that position was open for a long time and there is some savings there. So I feel good with this. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
I,
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed? That passes. Moving forward, item B. Request to amend the table of organization salary schedule to create new position of part-time community services worker number 1. And without objection, I'd like to see if the committee would consider joining B and C together because there are 2 positions. My understanding from the committee meeting that I attended, this is in relation to the fact that workloads are increasing. They're going to take money out of overtime and apply it to these positions. So can I have a motion to bring this forward? Supervisor Runyon, you first. Supervisor McDivitt on the second. Any questions, comments? Supervisor Beatty.
So these are 2 brand new positions. Is that correct?
I believe they are.
Okay. I think everybody knows my position has always been less government's better than more and more government. And as the 2nd or 3rd largest employer already in Warren County. And we just keep growing and growing and growing. And as the last census proved, we as a county aren't growing in population. But the county, Warren County itself keeps growing, adding more and more positions. So, unless I see a dire need for a new position, I'm going to have to vote no on both of these. The social services, human services now, social services is our 2nd largest department. And they do a lot of good work. No one denies that, but there's got to be some type of a end to this constant additional employees being hired in the county. We're pretty soon everybody in the county is going to work for the county. So we're getting there. We're trying to get there. So I'm going to have to vote no.
Supervisor Runyon.
thank you. It says on our paperwork here, this is a mandated position and it's reimbursed 50% by the federal and 25% by the state, so. That's right.
Thank you. It's also from the standpoint that, from my recall during the discussions, the increased workload is creating strain and stress, not only in the budget from an overtime perspective, but for the level of services that we're able to provide. And I think it's important that we continue to provide these services in an effective way. Supervisor Driscoll.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. If blame is going to be made, let's make it on the state and federal governments for continuing to increase the mandates, increase the responsibilities that we have to basically shuffle papers back and forth. In order to do that, you've got to increase your staff or increase the time. I would rather increase the staff than increase the overtime.
Vice Beatty.
Yeah, so the position itself is a mandate, correct? It's the work required that dictates maybe having 2 new employees. Am I correct on that? So am I correct on that, Mr. Administrator?
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, that's correct. There's the increased workload has now been done by people on overtime. And we can't continue that overtime. They're not willing to do it. They still have to get the work done. That's why 75% of each position is being funded by federal and state.
Any other questions? Bradley,
Thank you. You look in the notice of intent to fill and tracking, there's 43 positions in social services that seem to be under that notice of intent to fill. So 43 positions, and we're asking for two here to help with the workload. To me, it's kind of a no-brainer.
one of the, if I might add, one of the notes that I have also is that this is the foster care unit. They're basically fully staffed right now. I'm not sure that there's open positions in that organization. So I can be corrected.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. They are fully staffed in that department, and these are just, they're doing it by overtime right now.
Right.
That's.
But we still have to provide those services. So any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor for B and C, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
One opposed, that passes. Now referral to tourism. Tourism committee brought a request to amend the table of organizations for the tourism coordinator, create the new position of tourism coordinator. And to delete the position of tourism development events coordinator. Effective January or August 21st, 23. A motion to bring that to the floor. Supervisor Runyon, thank you. Supervisor Frazier. Discussion. Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that passes. Request and discussions by the county administrator. You mentioned to me earlier that item C will be pulled from the agenda today to be looked into a little deeper. So I'll turn this over to John.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was going to do this on behalf of the public defender who happens to be here today, and Mr. Public Defender, would you like to discuss these items?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Administrator, honorable members of this committee. I'm here today to ask you to consider resolution request number 13, whereby I'm seeking to increase a starting salary for a new hire from the base level of $79,651 to $90,047. The attorney we have in mind has 5 years prior criminal law experience, has worked in various district attorney's offices and public defender offices throughout the state. She and her husband have settled on the Warren County area, settle down and start a family. It would be a great advantage to our office. This is a candidate whom we could hand a box full of files without any training or instruction, and she could go into, we have in mind, Buntsville City Court, one of our busiest courts, and take over that court with quite ease and very little training, and with excellent competency. She does have another offer for more money in a neighboring county, but it's Warren County where she wants to live. And in fact, realizing the shortage of attorney applicants, our department, along with other departments in the county, have highlighted the quality of living in Warren County. And it's this very element that we've used to draw applicants in that has piqued the interest of this candidate. And it's here in Warren County that she wants to settle down with her husband and start a family. And she does have, like I said, enormous amount of experience. It would be a great asset to our county to have such a highly qualified candidate. And as you know, we are struggling to meet ILS attorney-client ratios. This would go a long way in assisting us in that regard. And therefore, I would respectfully request your approval of this increased salary.
May I ask for a motion to bring this to the floor? Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Thomas on the second. Discussion. Supervisor Beatty.
Greg, is she already hired?
That's-
Okay, so she's pending the offer of 79,000 with another offer she has.
She indicated that she would come to work for us at 90, actually, she said 91, but we're told it would come to that for 90, and she indicated, and we explained to her the process. And she said, well, she will hold off on accepting her other offer until the process makes its way through government approval, but she has not been officially hired yet.
Okay, this is also a slippery slope, as you know, right? We advertise one, and then we jack it up 12% before we even get started. And that's, you know, I understand the situation, okay, and you can make an argument on both sides of sticking with the 79 or increasing it, you know, I can see both sides of the argument. Okay, I gotta think this out.
So, let me just point out that, yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from, but we're gonna have to circle around and revisit this again. Because what's happening with the state increasing the assigned council rates to $158, a staggering $158 an hour, is we are now competing with the state actually to hire attorneys. I think this comes out to something less than like $50 an hour. And a lot of lawyers that we're trying to get into workforce are thinking, well, what do you have to offer that I can't do myself at $158 an hour? Most of whom don't even have overhead. A lot of these assigned counsel lawyers don't have offices. I'm not even sure they have malpractice insurance. They're making a raw $158 an hour, more than the judges make per hour. And so it's crushed us. Now, Saratoga County, starting out for a public defender is $91,000. And so to compete with surrounding counties for competent, qualified attorneys, to compete with the assigned counsel rates that have shot up, it's making it extremely difficult for us. And I'm not sure, Supervisor Bailey, if you received the email or have been made privy, but we've struggled mightily at the Warren County Public Defender's Office to tighten up the analysis of conflict cases. We've dropped that by a substantial percentage, trying to save the county, trying to do everything we can within the law and ethical standards to prevent shipping these cases out to other lawyers who are going to charge us $158 an hour. That's something we're very mindful of every time a possible conflict comes before us. That being said, the more cases we hang on to, obviously, the higher caseload we have per attorney, which brings us up to against the other end of the ILS requirement. It requires each attorney to have a certain limited amount of caseload to assure that we're providing competent and not overworked or overstrained legal representation. So we're balancing this. I suspect we're gonna have to come back here sooner or later at some other time and ask to raise that $79,000 base salary. Not now, hopefully we can toe the line, but this is where we're at. These are the pressures we're facing.
Thanks, Greg.
Chairman Garrity?
Yeah, this is also part of the corral hearing.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, and this is Supervisor Beatty. This is 100% fully funded, but I understand the precedent setting concerns you have, but it is, this particular application is 100% funded by the state.
Supervisor McGowan?
That was the question I had. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Ben?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 5B is a request to amend the rules of the board this year to say that we are not going to consider mid-year salary increases outside of the budget process. We've had a number of them this year, and we also had some last year. We have a pretty solid process with the budget as we make our determinations for salary increases. And I think we are going to pay very close attention to the salaries comparable across the county so that we can ensure equity among, similar type positions. But once we make that determination of budget going forward, we would plan to not entertain mid-year salary increases for anyone unless there was a significant change in job responsibilities. So this does not need a resolution. We just, the clerk of the board would take the responsibility to amend the rules.
No, it does need a
resolution. That's right, yeah, I'm sorry.
So before we have a resolution, do we have any comments, discussions on this? Does anyone like to make a motion? Yes. Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Thomas. I'll ask again, any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that. County Attorney,
I would ask it, if you want to defer the executive session to the end, just to finish the agenda before we move into it. I don't think it'll be a long executive session today.
without objection, we can do that. Moving on, item 5. Warren County Workplace Violence Policy Review for additional updates.
I would ask the committee to remove that from the agenda. My office is starting now to work. Really, the focus is on having a process and procedure in that policy, which is lacking currently. And I'd like, once my office is able to put some draft language together, to run that through the county administrator and the other department heads first, and then when staff believes we have a policy, if we believe we have a policy change that's warranted, bringing it to the board at that time.
It's the privilege of the committee to remove it. Any concerns about that? Seeing none, that's what we shall do, Amanda, if you can help with that. Thank you. So the only thing left we have is privilege of the floor. I'm not sure if we should do that before or after your executive session.
There's an item 5C about county leave policy. Did we adjust that already?
Yeah, we're just going to delay that.
Oh, that's what's delayed. Okay, thank you.
So maybe I should ask for privilege of the floor before we move forward. Any comments from the floor? All right, we'll enter executive session in just a moment, but I did want to make a comment. I had the privilege of spending some time with Kevin Hajos with Department of Public Works, and met with him and his team. And his team is also struggling like a lot of our teams are. How do they get staff? They've outsourced a lot of their work. And I think that's something that we're going to need to address in the future in terms of that team and what we see them in the future. Because again, they're having a very difficult time adding staff and competing with the individual town supervisors who have much higher salary structures. Yeah. So with that, we need a motion to move into executive session for.
We can go right off of what's on the chairman.
To discuss the following current pending and potential litigation. Michael Esterbrook versus Schenectady County, Warren County et al. Hometown Oil Corp. Notice of claim received May 1st, 2023.
And that would be under section 105(1)(d) of the Public Officers Law.
Sorry, skip that. My motion, Supervisor Runyon, Supervisor Frazier, thank you very much. We will now enter executive session. Oh, we need to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There we go.